Hey everyone, welcome back. In this video, we're going to talk about why life isn't a battle of good and evil, but instead it's a beautiful dance. A dance between opposites. And when we get stuck on one side and try to fight against the other, that's when we suffer. That's when we get hurt. So let's use a very simple example. Breathing. The inhale is one half of the breath, and the exhale is the other half, right? They're two sides of the same coin. You cannot have one without the other. It's the same thing with our experiences in life. Joy and sorrow are two halves of the same whole. We cannot have joy without sorrow. Happiness cannot exist without sadness. Light cannot exist without darkness. So if you're feeling really happy right now, just look around and see if there's any shadows. Because if there's any light, there must be some shadow, right? Even if you're sitting in a room with all the lights on, there will still be shadows in that room because the light is creating the shadow. The light cannot exist without the shadow. The light defines the shadow, and the shadow defines the light. So here's another example. Relationships. Let's say you're in a relationship and your partner disagrees with you on something. Now, what most people will do is they'll think, oh, we're so different. We have nothing in common. Or even worse, they'll think that the other person is wrong and they're right. And that creates a separation between them. They start seeing themselves as individuals instead of a couple. But what if you saw that disagreement not as a separation, but as an opportunity to find more unity? What if you thought maybe there's a part of me that agrees with this, and there's a part of me that disagrees with this? And by exploring that, you can find a deeper unity between you and your partner, right? So you can see this dance everywhere in nature. Day and night, hot and cold, male and female, success and failure, light and dark, up and down, full and empty, high and low, old and young. Everything in life happens in pairs of opposites. And this is not just a theory. You can see this in physics. You can see this in biology. You can see this in chemistry. You can see this in every aspect of life. Now let's take the example of success and failure. When you want to become successful at something, you have to first fail many times until you succeed, right? So failure is actually a step on the path of success. Without failure, you cannot succeed. So, when you think about it like that, then every time you fail at something, you should feel grateful because that's taking you closer to your goal. That's getting you closer to your success. But what do most people do? Most people, when they fail, they feel bad. They get depressed. Why am I failing? Why am I not succeeding? If you think like that, you're gonna suffer, okay? Because you're trying to go from here to here without going through this middle path. And the truth is, the more you try to avoid the opposite, the more pain you will feel. So the way to end this suffering is to accept the whole dance. Embrace the opposites. Don't try to run away from them. Don't try to fight them. Okay, here's another example. Let's say you're trying to lose weight. So you go on a diet and you start exercising. But then you think, okay, now I'm on diet. I shouldn't eat anything that has calories, right? So you're trying to avoid food. You don't want to see or think about any food. But what happens? Every time you go to the grocery store, all you see is food, right? All you think about is food. Because when you try to avoid something, that's when it comes to you. Why? Because you're focusing on it. You're giving it your attention. If instead of resisting the food, you embraced it, you said, okay, I'm hungry. I'm going to have some food, but I'm going to choose the healthiest food possible, right? I'm going to make the best choice I can. Then you wouldn't have that internal battle. You wouldn't suffer. And in fact, if you embrace the opposites, you can actually use them to your advantage. For example, if you're trying to lose weight, you can use the fact that you're hungry to help you lose weight by eating healthy food. So instead of suffering from your hunger, you can use that energy to help you achieve your goal. What if I told you that every time you feel lazy, you can use that laziness to make more money? How? Well, you're lazy, so you don't want to work hard, right? Instead of forcing yourself to work hard, you start thinking, is there a way I can make money without working hard? And that's when you come up with the idea of starting a YouTube channel, right? Because you don't want to work hard, so you start doing something that does require hard work, and then that ends up making you more money than you would have made if you had worked hard. So, you can see this everywhere in nature. If you look closely enough, you can see this in the weather. If it's raining for a long time, you know what's going to happen. There's going to be a drought, right? So the rain and the drought, they define each other. They need each other. You can also see this in the economy. When there's a recession, you know what happens next. A depression, right? It needs to hit rock bottom before it can recover and start growing again. And this is happening within us as well. When we hit rock bottom, when we hit the lowest point in our lives, that's when we start recovering. That's when we start growing again. So, whenever you notice any experience in your life, just ask yourself, what is the opposite of this? And when you find the opposite, you will find the whole. For example, if you're feeling happy right now, what is the opposite of happiness? Sadness. What is the opposite of hot? Cold. When you find the opposite, you will find the whole. Because when you feel happy, you also have the potential to feel sad. When you feel hot, you also have the potential to feel cold. If you feel that you're getting too big of a head because you're successful, what is the opposite of success? Failure. What is the opposite of love? Hate. So, when you find the opposite, you will find the whole. This is the simple practice that you can do to transform your life. When you notice any experience in your life, just ask yourself, what is the opposite of this? And when you find the opposite, you will find the whole. Let me give you another example. If you're feeling angry, what is the opposite of anger? Peace. When you find the opposite, you will find the whole. Because when you're angry, you also have the potential to find peace. When you feel tired, what is the opposite of being tired? Being energized. When you find the opposite, you will find the whole. Because when you're tired, you also have the potential to be energized. When you start practicing this, you will realize that everything in life is neutral. It's not good or bad. It's just what it is. It's just energy. And when you see things this way, you stop fighting the bad and you start seeing it as an essential partner in the good. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please like, subscribe, and comment below with any thoughts or questions you have. And I'd like you to do this for the next 7 days. Every day, try to find one experience where you embrace the opposites. And when you do, write it in your journal. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.